47 seconds. That's all it took for a 19-year-old to accidentally destroy her father's $8 billion fortune. She posted a TikTok video at 2:47 a.m. By sunrise, her billionaire father was offering tech executives $50 million in cash to delete it. Within days, he'd burned through every connection, every favor, every legal threat he had. None of it worked. Because what she exposed wasn't just a family secret, it was a scandal so explosive that 3 governments opened investigations, and 5 major news networks were threatened with lawsuits just for mentioning it. The video? You can still find it if you know where to look. Welcome back to today's story. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? I want to see how far this community has reached. Alright, let's get into it. To understand why this TikTok caused such devastation, you need to know who this family really was. Let's call him Richard Ashford. This man didn't just have money, he had the kind of wealth that makes other billionaires feel poor. A $420 million super yacht, a private 747, and homes on 4 continents. His net worth? $8.3 billion, built from a data platform embedded in over 2 billion devices worldwide. But Richard was obsessed with image. Every interview scripted. Every photo approved. Every family member contractually obligated to maintain the perfect facade with signed NDAs. For 23 years, it worked flawlessly. His daughter Sophie grew up in this golden cage. Private schools in Switzerland. Summers in the Hamptons. A trust fund paying her $100,000 monthly, money she never asked for and rarely touched. Her Instagram looked perfect. Yacht parties, red carpets, designer everything. But if you looked closely at those photos, you'd notice something. Sophie's smile never quite reached her eyes. Her shoulders were always tensed. In every family photo, she stood just a half step away from everyone else. Behind those mansion walls, behind the marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows, this family was hiding something. And Sophie was drowning in the weight of it. By 19, she developed what her therapist called affluenza anxiety, crushing guilt about her privilege mixed with rage about what it cost. She started seeing a therapist in secret, paying $400 per session in cash so her father wouldn't find out. She'd lie awake at 3 a.m. in her bedroom with $2,000 silk sheets that felt cold against her skin, scrolling through her phone, watching normal people live normal lives, wondering what truth actually felt like. And that's when she made a decision that would change everything. See, there was this one thing about her family. One secret Richard had spent millions keeping buried. He'd paid off journalists with 6-figure settlements. Silenced former employees with legal teams that could bankrupt someone with a single lawsuit. He'd even allegedly purchased and quietly shut down an entire investigative news outlet in 2019 that got too close. Sophie had known about it since she was 14. 5 years of carrying this weight. 5 years of sitting at family dinners, the smell of expensive wine making her nauseous, while her father played philanthropist on TV and she knew the truth. March 8, 2024 at 2:47 a.m., after what friends called the worst week of her life, a week where her father had screamed so loud the neighbors heard, where she'd found more evidence in his office, Sophie did something impulsive. She sat on her bedroom floor, back against the bed, phone propped on books. The room was dark except for the screen glow. Her hair was unwashed. Her eyes were red and swollen. She could hear her own heartbeat. She opened TikTok, hit record, and started talking. But here's what she didn't know. 3 people were about to see that video who would turn it from a teenage confession into an international scandal. And one of them had their own reasons for wanting to destroy Richard Ashford. The video started innocently enough. Sophie was sitting on her bedroom floor. You could see her $8,000 mattress behind her, expensive art on the walls, but none of it mattered. No makeup. Hair messy, falling across her face. The lighting was harsh. You could see she'd been crying. Her voice had that raw, scratchy quality you get after sobbing for hours. "I need to tell you something," she said, her hands shaking so badly the frame wobbled. "Something I should have said years ago." And then, for the next 47 seconds, she systematically dismantled her father's entire empire. Her father's company, the data platform probably running on your phone right now, didn't just accidentally violate user privacy like they claimed in 2019. They knowingly sold personal data from over 340 million users to foreign governments. Not anonymized data. Full profiles, names, locations, browsing history, private messages, behavioral patterns. Governments that used that data for surveillance. For tracking dissidents and journalists. For things that would make your blood run cold. But it gets worse. When whistleblowers tried to expose it, Richard destroyed them. Bankrupted them with legal fees. Had their emails hacked through SIM swap attacks. Planted false stories in the media. One of them, a senior engineer named Kieran Chin, ended up losing custody of his 2 daughters because of a sudden scandal that appeared in 3 major outlets within 48 hours after he threatened to go public. All manufactured. All coordinated. Sophie's voice cracked when she said his name. You could hear her swallow hard, fighting tears. She had documentation. Screenshots. Audio recordings from her father's home office collected over 2 years using her phone hidden in a bookshelf. And she ended with 7 words, "I have the files. Ask me anything." Her finger hesitated over the post button for 3 seconds. 3 seconds where she could have chosen the comfortable lie. She hit post and went to sleep. By 11 a.m., morning light streaming through curtains, her mouth dry, her phone had 847 missed calls. The notifications were so numerous the screen froze. The video had 2.3 million views. 23,000 comments. It had been screen recorded and shared everywhere. Tech journalists were losing their minds. Privacy advocates were calling it the smoking gun they'd been waiting for. And in his Manhattan office, floor-to-ceiling windows, the smell of expensive coffee, Richard Ashford was watching his daughter's face on a screen, reading words that would cost him everything. Here's where the panic begins. 11:47 a.m., Richard's lawyers contact TikTok directly. Emergency calls to C-suite executives. The demand? Remove the video immediately and provide all metadata. 12:15 p.m., the video gets taken down. Sophie receives a notification, removed for violating community guidelines. But here's the thing about 2024, you can't delete anything anymore. 12,000 people had screen recorded it. It was on Twitter, YouTube, even Pornhub to avoid deletion. 1:30 p.m., Richard's crisis PR team holds an emergency meeting. Their advice? Call Sophie mentally unstable and claim the recordings are AI deepfakes. They published the statement at 2:45 p.m. Worst decision they could have made. By 3 p.m., 3 things happened. First, Sophie posted a response. This time in her car, parked in an underground garage, concrete walls echoing. She wasn't crying. She was furious. She uploaded one of the audio files raw. Richard's voice, crystal clear. You could hear him breathing, ice clinking in his glass. Pay whatever it takes to make the chin problem disappear permanently. I don't care if it's 5 million or 50. Bury him. Second, Anonymous announced they'd obtained Richard's company emails going back 7 years and would release them in 24 hours. Where did they get them? Someone with access to home computers and backup passwords. Third, Kieran Chin posted his own video. Silent for 3 years, living in a Detroit studio, working tech support. But now he had proof his scandal was manufactured. Bank records showing payments from Richard's shell companies. Email threads Sophie provided showing coordination. His voice shook with rage and vindication. I've been waiting 3 years for someone to believe me. By 6 p.m., Richard's net worth had dropped $1.2 billion as investors panicked. You could watch it on Bloomberg terminals, numbers falling like dominoes, read across every metric. At 7:38 p.m., Richard made a phone call that would become legendary. A call where he offered something so outrageous, the person immediately recorded it. He offered $50 million cash to make the internet forget his daughter existed. The call was to Dmitry Volkov, TikTok's North American CTO. Richard's offer, $50 million cash, transferred anywhere Dmitry wanted, to permanently delete every trace of Sophie's video from TikTok servers. Not just hide it. Erase it, metadata, view counts, everything. Dmitry's response, disbelief in his voice. Sir, that's not how any of this works. We have compliance requirements, legal obligations. Richard wasn't hearing it. His voice got louder, more aggressive. Desperation turning to anger. He increased to $75 million. Then $100 million. Everyone has a price. Just fucking name it. 18 minutes. Dimitri recorded every second before declining and forwarding it to TikTok's legal team. That recording leaked at 9:47 p.m. Suddenly this wasn't just about Sophie's expose. It was about a billionaire trying to buy his way out in real time. The internet exploded. Between 8 p.m. and midnight, Richard executed full-scale information warfare. His lawyers sent 347 cease-and-desist letters threatening $10 million lawsuits if posts weren't deleted within 12 hours. Those influencers posted screenshots of the threats. It became its own viral story. Billionaire tries to silence me, flooded every platform. Strike one. His PR team contacted the top 50 tech YouTubers offering $250,000 each to make videos discrediting Sophie's claims. They provided 47-page talking points and B-roll. 47 declined. 3 accepted. Those 3 were exposed within hours. Screenshots of contracts, emails, bank transfers, all public. They lost hundreds of thousands of subscribers overnight. Strike 2. But here's where it gets diabolical. 11:23 p.m., someone hacked Sophie's Instagram through session token hijacking. Posted a message, "I need to come clean." Everything was exaggerated for attention. I was angry and took it too far. The recordings were out of context. I'm seeking help for my mental health. It stayed up 9 minutes before Sophie regained control. Long enough for Richard's PR team to screenshot and blast to every news outlet. Sophie Ashford admits fabrication. Except Sophie wasn't asleep. She grabbed her keys and ran. She went live on 3 platforms from her car in a Target parking garage in Queens. Fluorescent lights flickering. Sweatpants and hoodie. No makeup. Hands shaking. Echo of the garage making her voice desperate. I did not post that. Someone hacked my account. And if I end up missing or dead, you all saw this. I am not suicidal. I'm not mentally ill. And everything I said is true. Crying by the end, but angry crying, fury the body can't contain. That live stream had 6.8 million concurrent viewers. The Streisand effect went overdrive. By midnight, CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, everyone was covering it. 3 federal agencies started inquiries. The FTC for privacy violations. The SEC for securities fraud. And the FBI for something darker related to witness tampering. By sunrise day 2, Richard's stock dropped 34%. $2.8 billion in market value gone. Board members called emergency meetings. Major clients suspended contracts. His Wikipedia was edited 847 times in 12 hours. Sophie checked into a New Jersey Marriott under a fake name with a lawyer and security detail, because death threats were flooding in from both sides. But Richard had one more card. One nuclear move his own lawyers advised against. 8 a.m. day 3, he held a live press conference. Cameras flashing like strobes. His hands gripping the podium like he might collapse. He didn't just deny allegations. He didn't just attack Sophie. He did something that triggered 5 new lawsuits and 3 criminal investigations. He admitted part of it, but blamed someone who couldn't defend themselves. Richard stood at that podium and said 7 words that sealed his fate. My late brother orchestrated the entire operation. The room went silent. Air conditioning humming. Someone's phone notification deafening in the quiet. His brother Julian had died 2 years earlier in a plane crash. Convenient. Can't defend yourself from the grave. Richard claimed Julian, the COO who handled operations, had made deals without board approval. Orchestrated whistleblower attacks. That when Richard discovered it, Julian begged him to keep quiet to protect the family name. He even cried. Real tears. Voice breaking about the unbearable burden of protecting his brother's memory while trying to do the right thing now. Clearly rehearsed. Every pause calculated. PR team had coached him for hours. Masterclass in deflection. Blame the dead guy. Play victim. Hope it blows over. Except one massive problem. 23 minutes later, Sophie posted a video from 3 years ago, family dinner at their Hampton estate. Shaky footage from a phone hidden behind a vase. Clink of silverware. Expensive food nobody was eating. Julian's voice, frustrated and exhausted. Rich, this is your decision. I've told you it's too risky. But you're the CEO. I'll execute whatever you want, but this one's on you. Richard's response, cold, then execute it. And make sure nothing traces back to me personally. Use the offshore structure. Route through Singapore. If anyone asks, you made the call independently. Press conference defense? Dead in 90 minutes. But the damage Richard just did by involving Julian was catastrophic in ways he didn't anticipate. Julian's widow, Valentina Ashford, former human rights lawyer, had been silent through everything. Inherited $400 million. Moved to Vermont. Raised her twin boys away from the circus. Declined every interview. But accusing her dead husband? That crossed a line. 3 p.m. that day, Valentina held her own press conference. Not in a corporate lobby. In her living room. Family photos of Julian visible. Jeans and blue top. Eyes red but voice steady with fury. And she brought receipts. Julian's personal journals from before his death. Leather-bound notebooks, pages in his handwriting forensic analysts would verify. Entries documenting concerns about Richard's decisions. Fears about legal exposure. Attempts to convince Richard to come clean. October 2021 entry, 2 months before the crash. Told Rich we need to cooperate with investigators. He threatened to force me out if I keep pushing. I'm his brother. We shared a bedroom growing up. And he looked at me like a threat to eliminate. But here's the nuclear part. Julian had kept insurance. Encrypted files stored with 3 law firms in 3 countries. Instructions to release if anything happened to him or if Richard tried tarnishing his reputation. Digital dead man switches. Bank records. Email archives. Recorded calls. Valentina just activated it. 7 years of evidence that Richard was the architect and that he'd threatened Julian multiple times. Including one email, "You're with me or against me. And people against me disappear from this industry permanently." The internet lost its mind. Within hours, #JusticeForJulian trended worldwide. Conspiracy theories everywhere. Maybe Julian's crash wasn't an accident. Maybe the mechanical failure deserved another look. The NTSB announced they'd reopen the investigation in light of new information regarding potential motive. Sophie posted a tribute photo of her and Julian when she was 12, both laughing. Caption, "He tried to stop it. He tried to protect us. I'm sorry I didn't speak sooner. Uncle Jules, I hope you know I'm trying to finish what you started." 47 million views in 24 hours. But while the internet raged, something bigger happened in boardrooms. Richard's board voted at 11 p.m. day 4. Result? Richard removed as CEO effective immediately. Not suspended. Fired. For cause? No golden parachute. Next morning, escorted out by security. Same guards who'd greeted him for a decade. They took his badge, keys, laptop. He walked out carrying a cardboard box, cameras capturing everything, looking smaller than a week earlier. His $3.2 billion equity? Frozen pending investigation. Major partners terminated contracts within 48 hours. His charity foundation lost 90% of donors within a week. 3 universities returned donations and removed his name. Actual footage of workers cutting Ashford letters off a Stanford building with angle grinders. Metal screaming. Sparks flying. Students filming below. His wife Catherine filed for divorce day 7. Irreconcilable differences and emotional abuse. Sources said she'd known some of it, now distancing herself before getting caught in fallout. By week 2, Richard had lost his CEO position, $6.2 billion in net worth, his marriage, custody arrangements, his passport, surrendered to authorities. His freedom, ankle monitor, 50-mile radius confinement. But scandals this massive never end cleanly. Day 19, something happened that revealed this story was even darker than anyone imagined. If you're still watching, you're part of the 1% who cares about truth. Subscribe right now. Hit that button. Turn on notifications. Be part of this community. Day 19. March 27, 2024. 6:47 a.m. FBI raided Richard's properties simultaneously. Not requests. Full tactical raids with federal agents, search warrants, equipment. His New York penthouse, neighbors in silk pajamas watching as evidence boxes were carried out. His LA estate, helicopters overhead, news crews filming. His Miami vacation home, the one most people didn't know existed. They seized computers, phones, documents, servers. Trucks loading equipment. 6 hours just to catalog the New York property. But that's not the twist. The twist is what they found in Miami, in a climate-controlled basement not on original building plans. Behind a false wall disguised as a wine cellar, a server farm. Not a small backup. Industrial-grade equipment running 24/7. Racks of servers with redundant cooling, enterprise networking, battery backups running for days. Setup costing millions to build, thousands monthly to power. The room hummed with cooling fans. Air cold, sterile, smelled like ozone and warm electronics. LED lights blinking across dozens of machines. And what was on those servers? Backups of everything. Every user data sale. Every whistleblower communication. Every bribe, threat, illegal transaction from the past decade. Richard kept detailed logs, spreadsheets, financial records, communications, video surveillance. But it gets wilder. Those servers contained data on people who had nothing to do with his company. Politicians, journalists, rivals, even family members. He'd conducted illegal surveillance on hundreds of people for years, using his company's data tools turned inward, building profiles, monitoring communications, tracking movements. Sophie's therapist? Every session recorded through backdoor software. That's how Richard always knew what Sophie was thinking. Valentina's lawyers? Emails compromised through targeted malware. That's why Richard was confident Julian's files would never surface. FBI agent who leaked preliminary findings called it one of the most extensive private surveillance operations we've encountered outside organized crime. This wasn't protection. This was systematic, paranoid, obsessive monitoring. And here's what still gives chills. When they analyzed server logs, Richard had accessed Julian's plane maintenance records 3 weeks before the crash. Not just accessed, downloaded, studied extensively, service histories, repair schedules, inspection reports. The plane went down from mechanical failure in hydraulic system, rare but not impossible. But now people were asking different questions. Julian was scheduled to meet SEC investigators the week after the crash. A meeting Richard knew about from reading Julian's encrypted emails, where Julian planned to bring evidence, cooperate fully, potentially testify against his own brother for immunity. Nothing proven. No charges filed related to the crash. But the implication was enough to turn Julian's death into active murder investigation. Valentina collapsed when she heard. Hospitalized for exhaustion and shock. She's been advocating for full criminal investigation since, meeting with prosecutors, funding independent forensic analysis of wreckage stored in an FAA facility in Nevada. So where are they now? Richard Ashford awaits trial on 47 federal charges: wire fraud, illegal surveillance, computer intrusion, obstruction, witness tampering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Looking at 300+ years if convicted. Legal team burning $2 million weekly. Remaining assets being liquidated for defense. Net worth down to $800 million, most tied up in legal holds. The $8 billion empire? Gone. Living in a Manhattan townhouse under house arrest with ankle monitor. Reports say he's aged a decade, gray hair, weight loss, visible deterioration. Sophie finished testimony last week, 6 days walking prosecutors through everything. She's written a book coming out next year, advance copies generating Oscar buzz for the inevitable movie. 3 studios bidding, Sophie has final say on casting and script. She started the Julian Ashford Foundation for Corporate Whistleblowers, funded by her trust fund. Provides legal support, financial assistance, mental health resources for people who expose wrongdoing. Kieran Chin is on the board. When asked if she regrets it, Sophie always says, "I regret not doing it sooner. I regret every day I stayed silent while people were hurt. The TikTok was easy. Living with the secret was killing me." She sleeps better now than in years, despite death threats, despite the destroyed relationship, despite public scrutiny. The truth weighs less than lies. Valentina successfully pushed for Julian's case reclassification from accidental death to death under suspicious circumstances. NTSB found anomalies, signs of digital tampering matching forensic signatures from Richard's servers. Independent aviation experts found pre-existing hydraulic damage that should have been caught. Either the inspector lied, or someone changed logs. Negligence or murder, someone is responsible. No charges yet, but 3 agencies investigating. Valentina hired the same firm that prosecuted the Epstein estate. She's not stopping until she gets answers. The company Richard built? Restructured under new CEO Priya Sharma. Implemented industry-leading privacy protections, established independent ethics board with real power. Issued formal apologies. Settled class action for $1.8 billion. Established $500 million fund for retaliated whistleblowers. Cooperating fully with investigations. Stock prices back to 70% of pre-scandal levels, remarkable given circumstances. The company survived but will never be what it was. Richard's name erased from everything. But here's what keeps this alive. Last week, November 19, 2025, new court filings revealed Richard's surveillance network was even bigger. Over 2,000 individuals across 12 countries, including 12 sitting Congress members, 4 federal judges, 24 journalists. The implications are staggering. Did he blackmail anyone? Manipulate markets? Influence legislation? Destroy competitors? Still piecing it together, but every discovery opens 10 new threads. Legal experts say fallout could continue 5 to 7 years as everyone on that list is notified and decides whether to sue, cooperate, or stay silent. That original TikTok? Viewed over 500 million times across all platforms. Some college media courses teach it as a case study in how social media can expose corporate corruption. Sophie pinned a comment on one reupload with 2 million likes. Sometimes the truth costs everything. But silence costs more. And I'd rather be broke and honest than rich and complicit. So what's the lesson? In the age of smartphones and screen recordings, there are no more secrets. Every billionaire, every corporation, every powerful person who thinks they can buy silence, they're one viral video away from losing everything. And maybe that's exactly how it should be. Richard Ashford spent decades building an empire on lies. Sophie Ashford spent 47 seconds telling the truth. Guess which one is still standing? This story had everything: family betrayal, billions lost, possible murder, and a 19-year-old who decided truth was worth more than her inheritance. If you think this is insane, wait until you hear about the crypto billionaire who faked his own death to escape fraud charges, moved to Paraguay, and got exposed when his Tesla's GPS was subpoenaed. That story's somehow even crazier, and I'm covering it next. But I need to know, did Sophie do the right thing? Or should she have kept her family's secrets? Drop your thoughts because this one has people divided. If this story kept you hooked, imagine what the next one will do. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're building a community that values truth, and I need you in it. This has been the story of how one TikTok took down a billionaire. I'll see you in the next one.